How's it going out there, YouTuber? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's go right into this review and see what I saw. So welcome to an all-new movie review, folks there out in YouTube land. And all those wonderful new subscribers, and all the subscribers I already had, and anybody else that might end up clicking on this video. Don't forget to subscribe, people, because this is some awesome content. Anyway, so the movie I'm going to be talking about today is an awesome movie that just came out a couple weeks ago. And I actually got to see it about a week ago or so. And I thought that this movie was fantastic and that it was really well done and shouldn't be getting all the slack and all the comments and all the crap that people were saying that this is a horrible movie. I'm sorry. But this movie was freaking fantastic and really well done. And I thought a really great directorial debut by its director. Now, the film I'm talking about, of course, is X-Men Dark Phoenix. Oh yeah. So if you've seen Last Stand, we realize that this is a way better approach to the Dark Phoenix saga than the previous trying to get. Don't get me wrong, Famke Janssen is a fantastic actress, and Hugh Jackman, of course, we love Hugh Jackman, but this film was way better version of what the Dark Phoenix should have been about. Now, this film, I feel, is just really amazing and really well done. Now, like I was saying before, this is the directorial debut of not only an amazing upcoming director, I feel. I think he's going to make a lot of great films. But this guy has been a writer for many, many movies over the years, and executive producer and so forth, and just has a great eye for the cinema. And that, of course, is Mr. Simon Kingsberg. Oh, yeah! So Simon Kingsberg, like I said, you might recognize as the writer of a few of the other X-Men films. You might recognize him as the writer of some other films over the years. Because that's mainly what he's been doing, is been a screenplay writer and has been a producer on certain films. Which I thought was actually interesting, because I found out that he was an executive producer on a movie that I was totally not expecting him to be a executive producer on. And I was like really shocked, and I was like, what? He executive produced that film? Like, really? That's interesting. But anyways, this guy is just an awesome director, and I thought he did a really fantastic job with, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, a couple things that he is known for, as I like to talk about, is none other than an awesome, amazing film that was directed and beautifully, written by Mr. Kingsberg. And it starred the awesome and amazing Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. And that, of course, is the film called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Oh, yeah. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith was actually written by Mr. Kingsberg. And he wasn't the director, but he was, a lot involved and gave us this really great screenplay and a great film. Because the movie itself was really fun, really awesome, and the characterization and the acting done by Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt in the film was so awesome and just so beautifully written. And I thought, Simon did such an amazing job of, making this, these characters, giving us this great screenplay, giving us this great ideas, and just made the movie really awesome and really fun. So beautifully directed, of course, also by who directed it. But at the same time, I feel that the movie wouldn't have been as good if Simon hadn't written it. And I thought he did a really fantastic job with that. Now, of course, the other films that I'll be talking about that he has actually written are, of course, the last few X-Men films, actually, he's directed. He has directed, or not directed, but written the last few films. He wrote Apocalypse. He wrote Days of Future Past. He also wrote X-Men The Last Stand. So this is kind of interesting that he came back and wrote and directed the remake, basically, of Last Stand with Dark Phoenix. And he did such a more amazing job with this film. And I thought that was just a really awesome and really great accomplishment by him. And I thought that he just did a way better job than, unfortunately, Brett Ratner did with X-Men Last Stand. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like the film, but definitely this one is a way better approach to the Dark Phoenix story, period. On, the whole comic book line, if you've read it or if you've seen it or if you know about it, this one is way more closer to that approach of that comic book series. And I just thought Simon did an amazing job, making this film, directing it. He made a really fun, fantastic film, and I just thought that it was really well done. And I think that all the commentators and all the commenters and everyone that's giving this movie really bad slack are completely wrong. This movie is really amazing, really awesome, and I think it's a lot better than Apocalypse was. I definitely think they brought themselves back up from kind of that low angle of what Apocalypse was. Because Apocalypse was still an okay movie, but at the same time, I feel that Dark Phoenix was a lot better and a lot more better written and just better directed. Because you go from Days of Future Past to Apocalypse, and you kind of go from this high with Days of Future Past, and then Apocalypse kind of goes, and Dark Phoenix, I feel, brings Apocalypse back up, and is at par with Days of Future Past. Really fantastic film. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. Really well directed by Simon Kingsburg, and great directorial debut. So this movie has a really fantastic cast, and pretty much a majority of the characters that we saw in the last film, Apocalypse, returned for this film. So the few of the actors I'm going to be talking about, I feel, are the kind of the top build, the ones that really have a lot of the screen time in this film, and I think that are just really fantastic actors and actresses. Now, and the first one I like to talk about is, of course, the Miss herself, the main character, the Miss Dark Phoenix herself, Miss Sophia Turner. Oh, yeah. So Sophia Turner, you might recognize, of course, from Game of Thrones. You might recognize her from a few other part-time roles in some films and stuff over the years. But a couple things I really enjoyed her and thought she was really fun in, well, of course, was none other than the awesome predecessor to this film, of course, is X-Men Apocalypse. Oh, yeah. Absolutely love X-Men Apocalypse. Such an amazing film, like I said. Definitely not as good as this one, but still a great film. And getting the introduction into who Jean Grey is, soon to be known as the Phoenix, I thought Sophia Turner did a really great job. I thought she was really fantastic. I love the approach she took to the character. And I like how she made it different than Famke Janssen's portrayal of the character. And that she gave a whole new spin and gave kind of a little bit of her personality to the character, and I thought she just did a really fantastic job. Really enjoyed her in it, and I thought that she was really amazing in the film too. And even though her screen time wasn't super huge in that one, it still was fun to see her give this great portrayal of who Jean Grey could be. Now that brings me to the second film Sophia Turner was in that I really enjoyed. Now this is an awesome film that came out a couple years ago that stars Haley Steinfeld in the film, and I think it's a great kind of like action comedy teen film that just has a lot of great humor, lots of great action, and just is a fun all-around great film. And that, of course, is the film called Barely Lethal. Oh yeah. So Barely Lethal is basically about Haley Steinfeld's character, who is an undercover agent who is brought in to do this certain task or job where she has to pretend to be a high school student, and Sophia Turner is in the film as one of her fellow agents. And I thought that Sophia Turner was really fun in the film. Even though it wasn't a huge part, still her part, when she did pop up, I really enjoyed, and I liked her character. And I really liked her interaction with Haley Steinfeld and everyone else that she basically interacted with. And I thought that she brought a great kind of sense to this character and gave us a completed characterization that was a good, addition to that film. And I just thought that she was fantastic in it, and I really enjoyed her in it, and thought that her and Haley did a really great job of working off each other in the film, and just making a really well-rounded film. Now, it comes to Sophia Turner portraying, of course, Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix again, in Dark Phoenix. I think she did a really fantastic job. There was definitely a few, I feel, over-dramatic moments where she was crying in the film that were a little exaggerated, but other than that, I thought that her performance was really good and really fun. I thought that she did a fantastic job, and, really, brought together the film, and was, a really good lead. And that she really gave us this, like I said in the previous film, she gave us this new introduction to who Jean Grey is and the Dark Phoenix, and gave us a whole different approach than what Famke Janssen had portrayed in the original X-Men films. And that she just brought a great new presence to the character, and made it a lot more similar to the comic book version as well. And I just enjoyed her persona and how she brought it to life, and basically how she really gave us this great conclusion to an awesome new trilogy and or series of new X-Men film. So that brings me to the next awesome actor that's on this amazing film. Now, of course, this actor we have seen around in many films, from Wanted to Glass to many other films. That he is such an amazing actor and is a chameleon basically whenever he's in a film, and he does such a fantastic job. And that, of course, is Mr. James McAvoy. Oh yeah. So James McAvoy, like I said, you might recognize from the film Glass, you might recognize him from Wanted, you might recognize him from Atonement, you might recognize him from a slew of films over the years. But a couple of films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in were none other than an awesome film that came out a couple years ago and the prequel to the film Glass. And that M. Night Shyamalan did an amazing job of bringing the Unbreakable universe back to give us this great trilogy. And that, of course, is the awesome 2016 film Split. Oh yeah! Such an amazing film. Absolutely love the film Split. Such amazing job by James McAvoy in that film. All the different personalities that he portrays are so amazing, and he just played that character to the T. And it was such an amazing and awesome portrayal. And I think he definitely deserved an Oscar for how amazing he was in that film. And he just was so intense, so well, just mannered and given such a great performance, and just absolutely made me fall in love with his character in the film. And also just made me want to watch more James McAvoy films because just how amazing he was. Once again, he did bring that to Glass as well. And I thought it was just such an amazing portrayal, and he just really shows how great of an acting chops he has. And this movie, Split, was, I think, one of his best films to date. Such an amazing role. If you haven't seen Split, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch, really fun, and a great sequel to Unbreakable. So that brings me to the second film James McAvoy was in that I thought was really fantastic. Now, this film came out 2 years ago and is a Charlize Theron-driven film, and is directed by one of the guys that was part of the John Wick franchise. And this film is just a really fun, awesome, action-packed, kind of thriller film. And it's just fun, enjoyable, and has a lot of great action sequences in it. And that, of course, is a film called Atomic Blonde. Oh, yeah. Atomic Blonde is such an amazing film. I wasn't too sure about it at first when I saw that it was coming out. I wasn't, I'm not a big fan of Charlize Theron. I think she's kind of overrated. And this film definitely was one of her best, I feel, to date. And I thought that she did a really great job of portraying this character and was just really fun in it. And her interaction with James McAvoy in the film was just so superb as well. And James McAvoy's character is kind of like a sidekick slash kind of helping her out along with, the duties that she has to do throughout the film. And you end up finding out more about James McAvoy's character and kind of what he's doing and what he's behind. And he just portrayed this character so awesomely and so amazing. And I just thought that his interaction with Charlize Theron just was really amazing, intense, and made Charlize Theron, have such a great performance in this film. And I thought he was just a great addition to the film, too, because you kind of fall, in love with James McAvoy's character. You kind of sympathize with him. You kind of understand where he's coming from. And you want him to do good. And you want him to be who he is. And I thought McAvoy did a great job of bringing that to life and giving us this great character that you want to see more of. And he just did a fantastic job in the film. If you haven't seen Atomic Blonde, definitely check it out, people. It's worth a watch. Really intense, really fun. Lots of great action, and McAvoy is superb in it. Now, it comes to playing Professor X again. He, once again, brought it to the T. I absolutely love his portrayal in this film. I love where he takes the character. I love how his character grows in this film. From who he was in First Class to who he is now after, everything he's been through between Days of Future Past to Apocalypse, and, just basically giving you more of a fuller, encompassing story of who Professor X is, who Charles Xavier is. And McAvoy did such an amazing job of giving us that portrayal and giving us that, portrayal of how Professor X becomes the Professor X we know him as, Patrick Stewart. And I thought that McAvoy or nobody else would be able to play it like McAvoy did, and he did a superb job. Really enjoyed his performance as Professor X, and hopefully we'll get to see him play the character again, maybe. Even though this is supposedly the last X-Men film of the First Class, series, still, hopefully, maybe we'll get to see him again as the great Professor X. But great job by McAvoy, and really superb. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out if you love McAvoy. So that brings me to the next awesome actor on this awesome roster of actors and actresses. Now, the next person I'm going to talk about is Mr. Magneto himself, and who has been in a slew of films over the years. Some, people thought his performance was great. Some performances, people were like, oh, okay, that was okay. But then, of course, is the awesome actor, Mr. Michael Fassbender. Oh, yeah! So Michael Fassbender, you might recognize from films like Fishbowl, or Fish Tank it's called. That came out in 2009. That's considered like one of the 1001 greatest movies to see before you die. You might recognize him from a slew of other little films over the years, The Counselor, and a few other films. But a couple films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in was none other than an awesome film that came out a couple years ago that is a really great action thriller film that I feel was really fun, really good, and didn't get enough credit for how good of a film it was. And that, of course, is the film called The Snowman. Oh, yeah. So a lot of people hated The Snowman, thought it was a horrible film. I thought it was pretty decent and a fun film. And I thought Fassbender was really awesome in the film. I love where he took the character. I love how his character is. And I love how he takes him from, what happened to him to where he ends up at the end of the film. And just how he portrays that character and that story of what happened to this child and to this person and why he becomes the way he is. And I thought that was just a really fun and interesting storyline. And I just thought that he really brought that to life in the film and made it interesting, kind of like serial killer slash type of film, thriller film, that, he basically, has to stop this serial killer, etc., type of deal. And I thought he did a really good job of portraying that character and giving us a really fun film. Now, that brings me to the second film Mr. Fassbender was in that I really enjoyed and thought was a fantastic film. Now, this film came out in 2007 and is a Zack Snyder film and is a great recounting and reimagining of a great film that came out back in the 60s called 300 Spartans, and is based on the life or the supposed battle of the 300 soldiers that took on such a huge empire back, in the BC era. And it's supposed to be, based on this true story of this account. But is, of course, loose a bit because we don't really know, because this was thousands of years ago when this happened. But still was a really awesome and fantastic, retelling of this supposed myth, basically. And then, of course, is a film called 300. Oh, yeah. So 300 is an awesome Zack Snyder directed film that starred Gerard Butler, Lena Headey, an all-star cast of awesome actors and actresses in this film, and just is an awesome, amazing bloodbath type of film. Lots of great action and gore, and just lots of great action sequences. And a lot of people don't remember, but Michael Fassbender was actually one of the soldiers in the film. And it wasn't a super huge part, but really was what put him on the map. And he was really awesome in the film. I totally forgot that he was in it until I watched it recently. And I forgot how awesome he was in it. And I loved his characterization, and I loved his character and how he, worked with Gerard Butler and all the other soldiers that were in the film. And just how he brought a great presence to the film and made it very enjoyable and very awesome. If you want to see, Fassbender with fake abs, this is the movie to see him in, because it's hilarious. Because a lot of these guys, they did get buff for the role, but they were kind of painted on, little CGI work to make them look buffer than they were. So I think it's funny seeing him with like such great big abs in this film, especially considering, you see him kind of shirtless in some of the X-Men films and so forth, and he's pretty ripped, but he's not like that ripped. So it's kind of funny to see him so buff in that film, but at the same time, he just does a great, awesome characterization in the film, and is just a really fun character and a great addition to that film. If you haven't seen 300, definitely check it out, people. Huge, awesome film for the guys, if you love your action adventure, and you gals out there, if you like your shirtless men, this is a movie for you to see too. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it, people. Worth the watch. Now, when it comes to Fassbender's portrayal of Magneto again, see, I feel that Fassbender is so different than who, the original Magneto is, by Ian McKellen. And it's like, he does a great job of portraying Magneto and brings this really great bad guy character and is really fun. But at the same time, I don't see any Ian McKellen-isms in him. So I feel that their two characters are so different versions of Magneto. But still, I feel that Michael Fassbender's version of Magneto is really fantastic for this series. And I think he plays a really great Magneto, plays it to the T, gives us this great, lots of energy, lots of passion in who, Eric Lehnsherr is and who Magneto is and how what he's had to deal with, why he's turned out the way he is, and kind of why he is the way he is when we first meet him as Ian McKellen in the first X-Men film. And I thought that this was a great gateway of showing that, and that Michael Fassbender did an amazing job portraying that and giving this really great performance. He was really awesome in the film, really enjoyed him, and looking forward to more from Mr. Michael Fassbender. So to round out this awesome cast of actresses and actors, we have an awesome actress who I think is a really great actress. She's amazing, she's awesome, whatever she's in, she's always so super intense and amazing, does a great job, and just is a really fun actress to watch. And that, of course, is Miss Jessica Chastain. Oh yeah, redhead. Oh. Anyways, Jessica Chastain is so amazing. I think she's a great actress. Everything she is in, like I said, I think is amazing, is gold, and is just really fantastic. Now, a couple of films I really enjoyed her in, and one I feel is a very underappreciated film. I don't think it got enough recognition for how good of a film it was. And of course, another film that I feel is just a really great kind of horror fantasy film that she portrayed such a great kind of evil bad guy character in. Now, the first film I'm going to talk about is this awesome evil fantasy film that was directed by Guillermo del Toro, starring Tom Hiddleston and Mia Wasikowska. And that, of course, is a film called Crimson Peak. Oh, yeah. Absolutely love this film. I think it's fantastic. One of Guillermo's best films. Such an amazing film. The artwork, the design, the characterization, the whole character and storyline is such an amazing film. And I like the whole idea behind it. And I love Jessica Chastain's character because she plays such a great evil character in this film. But at the same time, you kind of have is she okay? Does she have some mental issues, or is this very logical? And is she deserving of how she's acting and doing stuff? And just the whole idea behind her character was really awesome and amazing. And she just brought it to life and gave us this great characterization of this character. And she interacted so well with all the other actors and actresses in the film. And just was a really great addition to that film, and I really enjoyed her in it. If you haven't seen Crimson Peak, definitely check it out, people. It's worth a watch. Really intense and awesome film, and another great one by Guillermo del Toro. So that brings me to the second film Jessica Chastain was in that I really enjoyed. Now, this film, like I said, is a very underappreciated, I think, film that should have got a lot more great recognition for how amazing of a fantasy film it was and just how awesome of a prequel it was. And the idea that it was a prequel and a sequel to the other film was such an amazing idea as well. And Jessica Chastain's character was just so awesome and a great addition to Chris Hemsworth's character. And that, of course, is the film called The Huntsman, Winter's War. Oh, yeah. So basically think of Frozen and Snow White mixed together, basically, is how I feel this movie is like. And this movie is just so intense and awesome, and such great visual effects, and just Jessica Chastain's character is so awesome. And I love her interactions with Chris Hemsworth, and how she is with him, and how she portrays the character, and how she really brings the character to life, and gives us this great, character. And it's just a really, amazing character to this already great film that was just such an amazing film. I saw this one in theaters. Charlize Theron's in it. Emily Blunt, Chris Hemsworth, like I said. They all interact, and it's kind of based on the Snow White story. But also I feel that it has almost a Frozen element to it, because Emily Blunt's character has the ability of ice and water. And that makes me think of, Frozen, of course, because that's what one of the characters in Frozen has the ability to do. And this movie is just such an amazing film. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It's such a fantastic film. Really well done. Really great, animation, CGI, great music, great story and such an amazing story to just the Snow White tale, and giving this whole kind of new idea to think about. Really awesome film, especially if you haven't seen the first one too, the other Snow White one, the Huntsman film. Definitely check it out. That one too. Both of them work so well together. And the second one I feel is a lot better than the first one. Really awesome, really great fantasy film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out, people. It's worth the watch. So when it comes to Jessica Chastain's character in X-Men Dark Phoenix, I thought she was an interesting character. I really liked the idea that she plays this alien creature, basically, that is trying to make Jean Grey do these bad things and wants the power from Jean Grey that she basically intercepts when they're trying to save the space shuttle people. And just the presence she brought and how she was very stiff and very, like, logical. She portrayed the character so awesomely and so fun. And I just thought she was a really great villain character and brought a lot of great presence to the character. And I love how, like I said, how stiff and, like, kind of deadpan she was throughout the film. And how logical sounding she was. And, you know, she didn't show a lot of expression. She showed a lot of just, like, I am who I am, you know, kind of idea or type of person. And I just love that. And I thought that was a really great character, a really great acting job, and I just thought she was fantastic in it. Really enjoyed her in it. If you love Jessica Chastain, definitely check out this film. It's worth a watch for her performance. So if you're not familiar with what X-Men Dark Phoenix is about, basically what this film is about is the X-Men get put on this mission in 1992 where they have to go up and save this expedition where their shuttle, this NASA expedition, basically gets stranded up there. They go up there to save them, and while they're there, basically Jean ends up interacting with this matter that goes into her body and basically makes her turn into the Dark Phoenix. And then the rest of the movie is about them trying to save Jean, to stop her from doing anything bad, and trying to stop Jessica Chastain's character from trying to take this power and use it for bad and to destroy the world, basically. It's a really awesome film. If you haven't seen it yet, don't go by what the critics said. Don't go by what people are writing about it. This movie is awesome and amazing. Far better than Apocalypse. Up there with Days of Future Past. It's an amazing X-Men film. All the actors and actresses put their heart and soul into this film and made a great film. Great directorial debut by the awesome Simon Kingsbury. And looking forward to more from him. And it's just a really fun X-Men film. Really looking forward to adding to my collection. And definitely a giant 10 golden movie boxes up on this bad boy. If you haven't seen it, go definitely check it out in theaters. Really fun, really awesome and enjoyable. Great film, people. Check it out. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. If it's your first time here, if you've been here before and you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you waiting for? A grand invitation? Don't let this movie review pass you up, and don't miss any of my other awesome reviews. Go ahead and check that check box and definitely subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these awesome videos. And as always, people, keep your eyes out for any older new videos you might have seen mine yet. And as always, people, check out the awesome Stardust app where you can watch 3 to 30 second little mini reviews of awesome reviews on TV shows, trailers, movies, documentaries, anything your heart desires. And this awesome little app also always updates and adds awesome new, contests and polls and all kinds of cool stuff. So that's something interesting. Go ahead and download it for free on your respective Play Store. Go ahead and look for me on the Cybernetic 13. Follow me and I'll follow you back. And as always, people, catch you in the next one.